Hey everyone. So a big announcement this week in the psychedelic industry involving one big company buying out another big company. So what we're starting to see is a lot of mergers and acquisitions, something we've been outlining for the past 3 to 4 months. So who is involved? What does this mean? And most importantly, why you should care? Find out now in our latest podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to the Dales Report, and very, very happy to be joined once again with the CEO of Numinus Wellness, Payton Nyquvest, back to the podcast. Payton, big news this week. How are things?
Things are good. A little busy, but yeah, really, really good.
Getting much sleep over the last couple of weeks? I would assume not.
It's okay. Easter weekend's right around the corner, so I'll catch up then. Yeah.
It's kind of the unofficial weekend of winter's over, spring is here, and what a way to bring in the nice, warm new season. It's almost like a new year. It's like I guess in a lot of ways, like the January 1st of the spring, so to speak. But you made big news this week with the acquisition of Novamind. For those learning about Novamind, it's a leading psychedelic medicine provider through a network of clinics and clinical research sites based in the U.S. So first question off the top, why did this acquisition make sense for your company and your shareholders?
Yeah, I've been really, really impressed with what Novamind has put together over the last couple of years, and more than anything have just displayed really operational expertise and have been a leader down in the US around not just offering psychedelic therapy, but really the sort of mental health care model that has really been our focus up in Canada over the last couple of years. And, coupled with really, really strong psychedelic expertise. They've been working with ketamine since 2013 and through their research organization, just really, really familiar with it. And, we've been looking at a lot of different opportunities in the US in particular. And this just made so much sense from a strong step into the US market. And to do so, at a time where obviously there's some consolidation happening in the space, but I think such a huge win for shareholders on both sides, and looking towards the future, just really, really excited to get this acquisition integrated and rocking and rolling.
Yeah. When you and I talked, obviously back in December, right before Christmas, we talked about a lot of mergers and acquisitions that would take place. It's starting to happen. I have to ask, were you looking at a lot of partners or a lot of companies leading up to this? Was there more than just Novamind? And at the end, it obviously made sense because on paper, this really complements your existing business model, especially when you look at the clinical side of things, correct?
Yeah, we've looked at a lot of stuff. We were fortunate enough to raise the capital that we have, and we've managed our burn rate very, very well, and have been generating good revenue. So that's put us in a position here over the last year while things have been tightening up to, have sort of our opportunity to look at a lot of stuff. And, with the Novamind team, due diligence, there's always something in the closet that you end up finding. But with Novamind, to be totally honest, it was like every place we looked, it just made more and more sense, and there was more and more opportunity. So it was just such a no-brainer fit for us.
So let's look at the details of this acquisition. Overall, the business combination will create a sizable platform for you with operations spanning 13 wellness clinics, 4 research sites, and 1 bioanalytical laboratory. So when you bring this all together, where exactly do you think this positions you now when you look at the entire industry as a whole?
Yeah, I think undeniably this puts us in a leadership position in the space. And when I say that, I mean, there's going to be many different facets to this, but really at its core is you've got sort of the drug development pipeline, which are groups that are, looking to do innovation on the drug product. And then there's service and actually, what is the sort of mechanism to actually provide all of these different drugs and therapies, and whether you're talking about MDMA, psilocybin, or some unique novel compound, you've still got to flow it through therapy. And for us, it puts us in a a very, very strong leadership position to now be able to grow this foundation that we've created and be essentially the sites where if you're looking to do psychedelic therapy or just other mental health services, you're going to come to us.
Yeah. When I look, as I said, 13 wellness clinics, and what really, I guess, grabbed my attention, the state of Utah has made some big news over the last few months. A conservative state, I'd like to add too, and very much in favor of the research when it comes to psychedelic research. So they're stationed, obviously, Novamind in the state of Utah. Have you been to some of the clinics, and if so, what are you seeing and hearing?
I have toured the clinics, and it was incredible. Touring the clinics, I went to go take some pictures, and I actually couldn't get any pictures because they were completely booked solid, and
Really?
the clinic was full of people. So we had to sneak back in there after they had closed to get some due diligence pictures. But I think
Wow.
in Utah, there's been a really thriving underground community around psychedelics, and I think Novamind in particular, they've just done an exceptional job of creating a reputation and a brand for themselves in ketamine-assisted therapy. They've been able to get insurance providers on board to support the financial aspects of ketamine-assisted psychotherapy. And not only that, but the thing to keep in mind, especially in the US, is that there's certain states that are much more agreeable to corporate ownership of medical structures.
And Utah is one of them.
Utah is one of them. Arizona, the other state that
Okay.
Novamind is in, is one of them as well. And from a scalability and revenue generating and margin standpoint, that ownership structure is a lot easier to operate in and a lot easier to create a profitable financial model around.
So that's got to be obviously a strategy in play when you come up with this acquisition of certain states. Do you see a lot more of that trend happening as you build your footprint out? And I'd be curious to see where a lot of these states are going to start looking at this over the next 12 months, because a lot of doctors I speak to, as I've said before, like that's staggering to think that you're trying to get a picture and you've got people lined up out the door as to where we are today, right?
Yeah, well, exactly right. And certainly for us, looking towards the future and continued expansion, that'll be a part of the expansion criteria for sure. And that's a lot of the work that Novamind has been doing. And I think, where they've been smart is not spreading themselves too thin and trying to be, in every state, but really going on a state by state level and creating very lasting foundational, and again, if you look at the operating margins and if you look at the revenue profile of these clinics, they're doing a phenomenal job.
It's good. Another thing I wanted to point out, and important for my viewers and investors to understand this, is that this will get you actually into additional clinical research domains. You will inherit Novamind's phase 2 clinical trial investigating psilocybin for major depressive disorder, sponsored by the USANA Institute. Also provide participation in MindMed's phase 2B randomized clinical trial investigating LSD for generalized anxiety disorder. So when I look at your current research partnerships, now combined with all this, I have to ask, how much of a factor was that in positioning yourself as an industry research hub? And did that factor obviously into the acquisition? Because it appears so.
Absolutely. And to also, typically when investors hear the word research, they think of, a black hole where money goes. And with Novamind's contract research organization, this is research that's being carried out that actually generates revenue for them. All of those contracts are paying contracts. So, for us, it was a big part of why this was a really, really great fit for us. And if you look at our research profile now, we're working the ketamine, MDMA, psilocybin, LSD, all the opportunities we have out of the lab with our licensing, and our level of comfort and familiarity with these compounds really sets us in a league of our own. And as I talked about, whether you're Compass, USONA, MAPS, MindMed,
Right.
Once your drugs are approved, certainly there's a need for scale factor, But I would argue more importantly is making sure that you've got safety, efficacy, and the first people that are going through your protocols have the best chance at success. And with us getting familiar with all of these different compounds in the research setting, it's informing how we continue to expand our clinic model. And so we'll really be, sort of at the cutting edge of what we're seeing in research and making those changes in clinic in real time to be prepared for when these different modalities come online.
It's a smart business strategy, rubbing elbows. MAPS, as you said, Usona, Compass, MindMed, just to name a few. So if I'm speaking to a group of investors and they say not one of the, but the leader in research in this space, your response to that would be what?
I would say, we've got the most comprehensive profile across many, many different compounds within a clinic setting, right? So, I
got to be biased, got to be bold, right? I threw up the softball question, right?
I think,
it's impressive.
The way we look at it is, we're sort of like the hub of the psychedelic industry wheel at the moment. We engage with many, many different groups, and we're creating the very, very necessary platform in order to do this at scale.
Yeah. This deal also expects to expand your path to profitability, which is obviously a big question amongst investors. And this will happen through the revenue that Novamind was generating, which was $2.45 million in Q1 of 2022, and redundant on cost savings. In general terms, how far does this acquisition move the ball forward in terms of your goal for net profitability in the coming quarters?
Huge. I mean, it's a really, really huge step forward. And again, if you look at the financials, huge ability to do cost reductions. The Novamind has really not had any fat on it in terms of overhead that we're not at least doing it already at Numinus. And it really, really brings up the revenue profile. And if you look at the margins on both sides, Numinus and Novamind, you've seen margins continue to increase quarter over quarter. And I think this gives us a very, very clear line of sight on profitability, which, in the psychedelic space, nobody's really been able to really come close to cracking that nut yet.
We've talked about mergers and acquisitions in the past. People have an understanding, an idea, but once it actually happens, they start to learn more about where this space is going. So I want to ask, and this is to all the viewers at home too, and as we're sitting here speaking with Payton, what are important questions as we see an announcement like this that investors need to understand and be asking as they're entering into this space right now?
Yeah, I think acquisitions like this, you've got to look at it from what does this mean for me 6 to 12 months from now?
Yeah.
They'll be closing, there'll be the integrating, all of that. But what I would encourage is look at what this implies in 6 to 12 months. The integration of this, the expanding of services, the cross learning that both organizations are going to be able to do with one another. Presents just a really, really exciting story around revenue generation, treating people, and really getting down to the bottom of why we're all here in the psychedelic space, which is to try and help as many people as possible. And this is a huge, huge step forward.
It's that next phase I think in this industry where you see a lot of companies that are cashed up that have the research now combining with companies that say are generating profit that are cash strapped, but you're really starting to see how that's going to come to fruition over the next 12 months. Roadmap, as much as we talked about, the industry itself, where do you see your company specifically in the next 12 months, given its broader research and clinical research?
Yeah, I think this is an extremely exciting time for the industry. The MAPS work that we've been carrying out, you're going to see those results probably towards the end of the summer, which is really exciting. The work we're doing with our psilocybin extraction. You've got Compass meeting with the FDA shortly on their phase 3. A whole host of research that you're going to see here. And then as we touched on, you've got Oregon going legal in January of next year. You've got the continued sort of changes that are happening at the Health Canada level. You've got more and more states that are I think the light at the end of the tunnel, or the sort of where is this space going, is becoming extremely, extremely clear in terms of how do you generate revenue? How do you create a sustainable model? And I think we're helping pave the way for that.
Yeah. I think we could have turned a corner here with this announcement, but you know what? Congrats. Great work to you and your team. Next stop, got to get out to BC and see you guys in person to film some more stuff. But awesome news, and congrats again. I know you're on to your next interview, so I won't keep it. But thanks for touching base here on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks, Payton. Hey, everyone. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you giving this video a thumbs up. We also value your feedback, so leave a comment below. And if you like what we do, then share this video on your socials. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and tap on that bell to receive notifications for all future videos that we post. Thanks for watching.